Hello, everyone. Welcome to Academy of Astrology podcast. Well, it's been a while, and today is the Mars in Aries, so I decided to run a very, very quick podcast with my dear friend Marcos. Oh, Marcos just joined me. Wow. Actually, because I just run a practice run with him, and then it was a struggle. Does that because of Mars still in the end of a Pisces and sextile Uranus? Marcus, what do you think? Hello, Marcus, how are you?
Hello. Nice to see you, Rod. About Mars going into Pisces,
Yeah,
into Aries rather, leaving Pisces.
Aries. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Mars is going to Aries this afternoon, but
Yes,
at this moment, still in last degree of Pisces. That is very interesting because there is so many things we can discuss. For example, the last degree, but I don't want to focus on this because there's more interesting things. Because I think I can feel that kind of move forward power
yes.
at this
And
moment.
I can't remember who it was, Rod, but there was an old astrologer who says when a planet is in the last degree of a sign, all its power is in the next sign. So there's
Oh,
something about it's about to sort of like tip over. And I always feel that with Mars is always in a hurry. So I
yeah,
remember Hugh Tompkins saying when we were studying years ago
yeah.
at the LSA, I always remember this, and I've found that she's right about many things, but this is one thing she's absolutely on the money about. She always said that Mars transits seem to act prematurely. They always seem to hit a bit faster than you expect them to. So I've noticed with Mars about to go into Aries that people's tempers are in general a bit more frayed, even though
Uh-huh.
it's in the last degrees of Pisces.
Yeah.
And of course, as we know, and this is slightly off topic, but it's on a star called Shiat, which is straddling the last degrees of Pisces and the first degrees of Aries. But
Yeah.
Shiat is a naughty star. But just speaking about Mars in Aries in general, it's that sort of switch up from um, like Mars in Pisces might divert its aggression in various ways, both productive and unproductive. Like it can be passive aggressive and sort of spread its anger sideways in
Yeah.
ways both deserved and undeserved, and also it can attempt to dissipate its anger through self-inflicted sort of escapist, probably not very helpful actions. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it can tend to be a quiet anger. When it switches into
Mm.
Aries, the anger goes exactly where it is intended to go, is often extremely reactive, and will just like it'll go. It's sort of act first, think later. So yeah,
Ah. So when you say act first, that means you just express it. If
yeah, it just
even
does it.
we
It just does the thing. It does.
yeah.
I don't know if you've got any friends or relatives with Mars in Aries, but I mean, I've got a couple, and what I've noticed is that they are better advocates than they are judges. So what they'll
Mm-hmm.
do very often is like they'll think something is unjust, and they'll
Mm-hmm.
go straight to the person they think is causing the problem and literally start attacking them, often
Yeah.
without having all the information, you know what I mean, or having heard one side of the story. So I mean,
Yeah.
so it can, when it's directed in the correct way, Mars in Aries can be very, very powerful. But
Yes.
it sort of it I think the reason it's exalted in Capricorn is because Saturn gives Mars a direction and containment. It's like I'm
Yeah.
gonna give you this agenda and you are to do
Mm-hmm.
this thing. Whereas in Aries, it has no, it's all impulse and no agenda.
Yeah,
So
I have to say it. I couldn't hold it back. I just want to let you know this and that is
yeah,
such a yeah, that is very interesting. And also at this moment we have like a for if we look from the whole chart, Mars is triggering all these kind of outer planet in the late degree and early degree of sign. So it's going to be interesting. But what we're going to focus today is about the house in the chart, because we know
yeah.
you are one of the expertise in this area in the house and also in the I think the medical astrology area. So I have a very beginner's question.
Brilliant. Okay.
What is or what are the very basic, friendly, basic level of the health indicator in the chart? For example, I mean, if we ask the beginner, they were usually thinking about the sixth house
Yeah.
indicate our health. But some traditional things, or when we study a little bit more, we know it's not totally in this case.
No, the sixth house absolutely is to do with illness traditionally. So the sixth
Hmm.
house for sure will always show areas of physical vulnerability and potential illness. But you're
Hmm.
absolutely right that particularly in birth charts, vulnerabilities, health vulnerabilities can show up in lots of different places. So,
Ah.
so the classic and the main would be the first place to look would be the ascendant, because the first house in the
Oh.
ascendant traditionally was the house of health, because it's the house of
Uh-huh.
the body. So the first house is I mean, all of the chart will describe different parts of the body, as we'll talk about
Yeah.
in our webinar. But the first house is the proxy for the general health and the body. The sixth house is the proxy for illness. The sixth house has other meanings. Obviously, it has pets and servants and service and
Yeah.
general drudgery and hard work and stuff like that. It has other meanings. But so you'd look at the ascendant. So perhaps the sign, if there was a planet in the ascendant,
Hmm.
that planet was in any way in difficulty, and of course there are various different ways that planets can be in difficulty. You could have a
Yeah.
planet in a sign where it's not very happy. It could be going retrograde. It could
Hmm.
be having an opposition or a square to perhaps a tricky planet like Mars or Saturn or the
Hmm.
Sun. Even the Sun by hard aspect or conjunction can be difficult. So anyway, there can be various different indications of. So a planet that is having difficulty or is itself a bit tricky, like Mars or Saturn, if they're retrograde or having difficulties in the ascendant, will often describe potential health issues. So
Mm.
the sixth house is often sort of specific body parts and specific illnesses that may be encountered, and also potentially the behaviors that may predisposed to illness. So,
Mm.
yeah, there are
Yeah.
different ways.
Wow.
And then there are lots of other things we could go into, but that's the first place I'd look is often the ascendant.
So
Yeah.
ascendant rather than sixth house, but very clearly in the traditional view, sixth house is
Sixth house is
related to
super important
illness.
too. Yes,
Yeah.
because when you're looking for specific causes of or locations of illness, you always want to check the sixth, but you also want to
Hmm.
check the first, because the first house is the house of health and the body. So if there's a planet that's causing problems in the first house,
Hmm.
do you know what I mean? It's a sort of
Yeah.
no-brainer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for clarifying this, because this, I believe, would be really, really helpful for beginner, because most of beginner will just have no idea where to look. Maybe they will just focus on sixth house, but now they know they can also focus on the ascendant and the first house. That is also health related. So we are going to have the webinar this Saturday on the 11th of April at 4 p.m. BST. And we are going to run this beginner friendly. The topic is related to the health. So Marcus, could you tell us what are we going to learn in this webinar?
Okay, yeah, sure. It's called Constitutional Remedies from the Stars, and I will be basically just doing a little show and tell of how I would work with a birth chart in my practice. So, in my
Hmm.
day to day as a medical herbalist, seeing clients,
Yeah.
I'll often be working with consultation charts or charts relating to specific illnesses. But as a medical astrologer, often you have the birth chart, so I'd be looking at that. So I'll do a little show and tell of how I work with that. So I'll start off with the complicated stuff, like, okay, this is all of the stuff you can get from a birth chart, which if you're a beginner might be a bit brain melty, but I'll show that to start with, and then I'll take it apart. We'll look at the different ways you can analyze a birth chart and some of the very basic health supporting recommendations you can help to get from a birth chart, which you can use even if you're not a medical person. So just
Cool.
basic stuff like, is this person running hot or cold? And what do you do if they're running hot or cold? You know, do you want
Yeah.
to, if they're running hot, you might want to cool them down a bit. If they're running cold, you might want to warm them up a bit. And how do you do that? So really, really basic stuff. And we'd also be looking at a little bit of, for those who have a bit more therapeutic or medical knowledge, you can use that information too. So hopefully this will be useful to people who are not at all medical, and people who have a little bit of medical knowledge. They could take it and run with it a bit further.
Beautiful, and I really looking forward for this webinar, because it will give us a very clear indication and idea how to check the health themes from the birth chart. It's a birth chart, so it's going to be very helpful for everyone. So I encourage everyone, if you are interested in the health issue or health themes with the birth chart, this would be the webinar for you. It's beginner friendly, but even if you have experience, you are going to learn a lot. So come on, go to check our website, aoauk.co, and you can enroll with this webinar. If you're running a bit late, don't worry, because the recording will last for 1 month. You can watch it for 1 month, okay? So just go to visit our website and book your place. Thank you, Max, today for joining me for this very short discussion. But I also want to remind everyone, this afternoon, me and Christine Skinner are going to have a little bit quick chat about our monthly lunar rhythm, and you are going to expecting to hear what Christine going to say about the current situation in the mundane world, geopolitical and the financial astrology. So go to visit our YouTube website. Okay, go to visit our YouTube website at 4 p.m. Me and Christine Skinner going to run a Lunar Reason podcast, and tomorrow evening is our normal mundane astrology discussion. Me, Leah McCarthy, Mark Cullen, Louisa Asenko, we all join together talking about the recent event, and also Anna Andrade. Okay, so thanks, Marcus, for joining us today, and thanks everyone. Don't forget, go to join up, visit our website, book your place. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.